Hey y'all, there are a ton of pro and con videos out there on the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and if you want to go watch any one of those and spend all that time, you can, but we'll sum it up here in about 10 seconds. Terrible traffic.
Con.
Hot weather.
Con.
No state income tax.
Pro.
High property taxes.
Con.
Friendly people.
Pro.
So now that that's out of the way, we're going to tell you what it's actually like to live here, and we're going to play a little game if you guys want to play along. Hopefully have some fun with it. So by the end of this video, you can determine if this is the right place for you. All right, so kicking off this video, we're going to jump right into family living because that's a lot of the folks that are moving here. They've got families. And guys, there are a lot of factors that are going to dictate where you want to be and especially where not to be. And we're going to be talking about a lot of those today.
We're going to be covering everything from cost of living and diversity all the way to vacationing and recreation.
Now, before we lick that pig again, we're going to introduce you guys to a little game we're going to be playing here if you want to play along.
Real quick, here's the deal. We've got two whiteboards on the other side of this table, one for me and one for Tom, that we had our friend write some phrases on that aren't really sayings. And some of them are pretty crazy, and you get to see our initial reactions here.
Okay, I think I can make this work. That's not as bad as I thought it would be, but that's still rough, like 6 out of 10.
Now the game is, there's going to be 8 of these, and we want to see who can figure them out. So if you can get all 8 of them down in the comments, the lucky winner is going to get sent some swag. So let's get started.
Let's talk about family living a little bit because I think this is a lot of folks moving here, whether you're relocating for a job, whatever it may be bringing you here. So I guess the first thing that's most important whenever somebody's moving with a family is...
Probably schools.
Schools, yeah. So I guess this is the first thing you should know. Dallas and Fort Worth proper, the school district's not so good.
They suck.
Yeah, there are a few exceptions, a very few. But also a lot of people are into new construction, and most of the new construction is happening in the suburbs. So whenever you're looking to move to Dallas-Fort Worth, by the way, it's massive. Everything's bigger in Texas, right?
Mm-hmm. I know they got Dallas and Fort Worth right next to each other on the map. If you go on Google, I want you to just go ahead and plot 2 points between the two of them and see what the drive time on that is.
Yeah, it's a very vast area, which is why we drop new videos every Sunday at noon. If you want to know more about, individual subdivisions, all that. But if you are moving with a family, more than likely you're going to end up in a suburb. So then the next question becomes, hey, well, which suburbs right for me? How much do they cost? All that kind of stuff. And honestly, a lot of the suburbs have what we call master plan communities. I don't know if they're called different things in different states, but basically it's just one big massive community that's planned out, and then builders start dropping houses like crazy. And there's a lot of benefits to buying new versus pre-existing. Jack and I both have a pre-existing house, even though we talk up new homes all the time. Mm-hmm. But one of the things to think about if you've got kids, and this became very apparent to me talking to different clients, but in a lot of these master plan communities, you got to think the price point to entry is not low, right? You're not going to find, I don't think you could find anything under 300 anymore, 300,000.
Not without going way out there.
Yeah, and so anything remotely close to Dallas or Fort Worth, you're going to be, at least mid threes. In a lot of these nicer master plan communities, it's 400,000 and up. And so what that does, this is one of the things I didn't really think about, but it keeps a lot of the riffraff out of the neighborhood. And I'll explain that here in a second because I've got a personal story about this. But also, like the clients that I have that have bought in new home communities, they love it because they get to know the other parents. And again, Texas is very friendly. People get to know everybody. And their kids will go meet other kids in the neighborhood. They run around together. They got their own bike gangs. They'll all go over to somebody's house to go swimming one afternoon. So, as a new parent, I'm like, wow, that would be so nice to have a whole, Saturday afternoon where I wasn't looking after a kid. But that's one thing to, keep in mind. That is going to look... It may look very different than if you buy in a pre-existing neighborhood. So where I live now, there are some concerns. I love the neighborhood. We've got a lot of really great neighbors, but I'm pretty sure that, there's this one house on my street. I'm pretty sure they do drugs. There's one, a street over that's I'm pretty sure it's like an insane asylum pretty much. They've got, and we can't seem to shut him down. The city can't. And then there's an attorney that bought the house, and I'm pretty sure it's like illegal immigrants he's housing there while he goes through like these lawsuits and whatnot. I don't know. But long story short, like it doesn't feel unsafe per se, but I'm not letting my kids run around without me.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's like, you remember those old commercials where they go, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? They were these old commercials in the 90s because like it felt like it was so much safer when kids would just go out and they come back before it's dark. It's like, cool, you're alive. Good to know.
That's how my childhood
Yeah,
was.
nowadays, God, no, I'm not going to let a kid go do that.
Yeah.
Not in the middle of the city, but there are definitely communities where you can feel that kind of safety.
Dude, I lived out in the country. There was our house, sharp turn, our house, and then another sharp turn. And like we would ride our bikes on the street all the time.
Oh, yeah,
like,
of course. Yeah, you just
way I
you
get out
look
there.
before you make a turn into the street.
You get real smart or you get dead. So,
Yeah.
so anyways, that was a huge tangent. I think I got sidetracked in there. But yeah, so before you butter those biscuits, you want to make sure that you're comfortable in the neighborhood that you want to be in. And that's where we come in. Like we've been to so many different neighborhoods here, and we want to, a 15-minute phone call, we can narrow it down to just a couple for you. Like, I mean, do you have a couple examples of neighborhoods like I'm talking about, these master plan?
Yeah, absolutely. They're all across the Metroplex too. So we got everything from Mansfield to South Point to Windsong up in the Prosper area, if you'd rather be over by Dallas. And if you want to stay on the Fort Worth side of the Metroplex, there's always Walsh or Pecan Square. So there's quite a few.
So just to like capitalize on that. So Pecan Square, and this is the difference. Like, I don't know if people in other states, like I've got a buddy from Florida and he's like, yeah, basically every neighborhood's gated. Like, first of all, that's not the norm here.
Bougie.
Like, yeah. It's like, oh, you have a gated neighborhood. That's unusual. But like, like Pecan Square, it's not just that all of these houses are being built together, but they have like an actual community. They've got these playgrounds. They have these big event spaces. They have an app to let people know like when a food truck's there or when an event's going on, all that kind of stuff. And so like when we talk about master plan communities, it's not like, oh, they just plan this big community. It's like they put in some community factor, right?
Yeah, they're like planning the spirit of the community as well.
Yeah. And then you have others like Walsh that have, they have gyms, they have lap pools, they have country club amenities.
They have
basically.
like 3 pools, don't they?
Yeah, and then they have a makerspace. Like if you want to do CNC machining, like it's really good for your kids. So like they're like, so on top of just the safety in the school, there's like the whole. I feel like the amenities is more of a community thing, but like the more of that you have to offer, the more like niches that you're gonna find in common with other people and be able to really build that community here. So now that's just one, and yeah, it's just one type of client that we get moving here. Like we get people that are coming because they want to retire, or they're working from home, but they're about to retire, and it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Believe it or not, Texas is one of the top retirement places in America, and we actually have one of the top 2 places to retire in America here in the DFW Metroplex. So with our viewer base being anywhere between 35 to about 70, believe it or not, we got a lot of people who retire early and all the way up into their senior years, and we get quite a few of them flowing through here personally.
Which is kind of like, it almost doesn't make sense because you retire, you don't really have an income. I say you don't really have an income. You have like
you might have a pension or Social Security.
So you're coming to a place with a little bit higher property taxes, but we're going to talk about property taxes here in a little bit. And like some of these destinations, you can get a lot lower property taxes. So at first it may not make a whole lot of sense when you first hear about it, but there are a lot of pluses. And I think there's a handful of really good destinations if you are a retiree looking to move this way. What comes to mind for you?
Well, honestly, I was just thinking about this, but most of the retirement destinations in the DFW area are waterfront or lakefront, rather, which makes sense. Milder climate, you got a lot more activities whenever you got all that time not working. But also, DFW is a great place because it has so many lakes. You don't think of Texas, 60% of it being desert would be a great waterfront place to land, but it kind of is. We got.
I never think of Texas as being mostly desert.
Yeah, you think
That's
of
so
everything
weird.
west of DFW. Isn't
Yeah.
Mineral Wells where the west begins, or it's no, that's Weatherford. I'm sorry,
I don't know.
but yeah, it's all just dry grassland,
I just think it's like Texas, and then everything west of there, it's like
oil.
yeah.
That's it.
Hot and dusty.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
But they found water and a lot of it around this area and built a ton of retirement communities in places like Viridian. If you want to be in the center of the Metroplex, they've got, a yacht club, which I think is insane in the middle of Arlington.
Talk about posh.
Yeah, they've got like a little lagoon beach set up, tons of amenities. Like they've got 2 or 3 amenities center with all kinds of sports activities. Got to keep active when you get older.
I'm sure they got Bunko.
What is Bunko?
I'm pretty sure it's a card game that old people play.
Is it? Oh, I don't really play a lot of cards.
My grandma was in a club.
I mean, you see me
club.
play cards. I'm not great,
Yeah.
And then the other one, probably the crowning jewel for retirement in Texas is, well, yes, there's plenty of that there. It
that
is
wasn't what you were gonna say.
Granbury.
Destination.
Yeah, sorry,
I thought you were
destination.
talking
I
activities.
apologize.
Okay,
Golf, of
yeah,
course, but they've got tons of golf over in Granbury. I mean, Pecan Plantation, which is different for Pecan Square, has 2 golf courses inside the community. One of them just comes with your HOA. I mean, there's De Cordova, and Granbury's right there on the Brazos River in basically a trapped lake. So you've got this giant slithering lake
Tried
that goes
getting away,
through.
but they trapped it.
Yeah, it goes through the middle of the town, and it's basically like the center point of everything you do, which is
Total
great.
Wetboard.
Yeah, I mean, if you enjoy water sports and getting out and enjoying the
wet in the
outdoors,
line.
yeah,
Yeah, getting away from the wife.
there's tons of that.
Yep.
Actually, my grandpa retired there. We had to move him because of medical reasons recently, but other than that, like he would have spent the rest of his days out in Granbury perfectly happy, and I'm sure there are plenty of other people thinking the same thing.
Is your grandma alive?
Maybe. I don't know yet. It's complicated. She's not in the picture anymore either way.
I'm not going to press on that one. So, and then did you mention Ropes Ranch?
Oh, yeah, this Robeson Ranch as well. So if you do want to be a little bit closer to the Metroplex, but you don't want to be dead center like Arlington, Robeson Ranch is a great option as well. It's just north of Fort Worth off of, 114 or 407? Sorry, 407.
Yeah.
Which is like a 40-minute drive from the city center. Nothing crazy if you want to make it there on the weekend. And it's great. Like it's
Super
one of the
active.
One of the most active, communities and interactive communities as well.
Yeah. I know we're getting way too into the weeds here.
Yeah,
we get excited about this stuff if you can't tell. So, all right. So, and then let's talk about, there's a lot of people that relocate here from like Colorado or California that are used to having like that outdoor lifestyle, or like, hey, it's Saturday, let's go hike and then get drunk at the bar. That's in my head. That's what people
it
from
sounds like fun to
Colorado
me.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if somebody's moving here and they want, if they love that outdoor stuff, how disappointed are they going to be?
Not at all. What the heck? There's so much to do here. There's nothing but outdoors here.
We don't have any mountains.
Yeah, well,
we barely have hills
that's
to
fair.
climb.
I mean, if you want some mountainous terrain, we got some stuff out by Lake Worth, believe it or not. The observation point is it has a good bit of verticality. Don't get me wrong, Texas is pretty flat, so mountaining, probably not on the list of to-dos. But as far as outdoor stuff goes, there's a ton of stuff to do. And even inside the city, we do everything we can to preserve our green spaces, our parks. I mean, Trinity Park and Trinity Trails is enormous. Tons of things to do, tons of events.
And in Dallas, you got Katy Trail. You've got
Clyde Morin.
And the White Rock Lake. So yeah, I would say the biking is really popular here.
Oh yeah, it's huge. We should talk to Jerry about that.
Yeah, a ton of biking trails. No, don't ask Jerry.
He will never stop talking about it.
Not unless you got an hour. No, we kid. Jerry's great.
Love you, Jerry.
But yeah, so like, so there's that, and then golly, we have a ton of lakes. Ton of lakes. So a lot of people will spend their time at the pool or the lake, paddleboarding, wakeboarding, surfing, any kind of water sport. Just drinking. That's a sport here in Texas.
Basically, yeah.
Drinking, yeah.
Beer pong league.
Yeah. Yep. What's other outdoor activities? So like, as far as this is another kind of con, but like national parks.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna have to travel quite a bit. Like we have them in Texas because we're massive, But what is the closest one? It's like 3
I think
hours
the closest
from here?
one is down by Waco, actually. I think it's just north of it.
What's it called?
I don't remember. I remember I had to look up
Is
a
it a
property
small
in
one?
that area, and it landed in the national park or a
Interesting.
reserve, I think. One of the two.
Okay. Anyways, you're gonna have to travel a little bit if you want to go get some real nature. But yeah, apart from that, and then also it gets really hot. Like, so I think that is why water stuff has become or water. It's popular here. Like, there's a ton of beaches people take their kids to, that kind of thing. All right, so let's shift gears into cost of living. So I feel like we should just talk about like some common things that people are always curious about, like the price of gas, and let's talk about it in liters just to confuse the shit out
Oh,
of
God,
everybody.
no.
And then
My conversions aren't that good.
cost of living. The other thing, dude, I couldn't believe like when people are talking about what it costs to go have like a nice meal out in California, and it was like astronomical compared to here. I say that.
Yeah, you think Del Frisco's is expensive until you have to
Yeah.
pay twice that.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's break this down a little bit. So, as far as like eating out, let's start off with that one. Like I would say, if you go to like your basic Chili's or Applebee's, whatever, I'm trying to think of like nationwide chains, you're probably spending $20 to $25 a person for the meal.
That's fair.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Not including drinks. And then if you go to somewhere a little bit nicer, like Texas de Brazil, or I don't know. I don't know of anything else that's like nationwide. It sounds like I never get out.
Longhorn Steakhouse, you're looking at about $70.
I would say
$50
50 to 70.
Yeah.
Yeah, in most cases. And then like if you go somewhere real high end, you're 100 plus.
Yeah.
Before drinks, right? So like if you want to go out and get hammered with your spouse and have a real good time, I mean, you can do it at a real nice place for about $200.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
not that we condone drinking.
I do.
Condone.
I
Is condone
encourage
good?
it.
Encourage it. So there's that. Gas right now. Do you know how much gas is?
$2.99.
Okay, it's under
Just
$3.
filled up yesterday.
Yeah, and it's been under $3 for the most part. There's like I don't know, a couple years ago it got over $3, but
Yeah, I think the highest I've seen it around here was about $3.50.
I think in California
Oh my God.
do they show gas prices in liters in California?
No. So actually, I remember even back in 2012, whenever I got out of boot camp, this was the first time I'd saw gas prices in California because my parents-in-law at the time picked me up.
Yeah.
We went out into town and they're like, "Oh, let's fill up real quick before we go." We just drove all the way out here, and it was $5.70 something a gallon, and they had like a 16-gallon tank, and that was what 12 years ago.
Wow.
I can't.
thought you were
imagine what
about to
it is
math
now.
that. And I was
No,
like, oh,
no,
man,
I don't know what the inflation rate on that is.
That's
That's awful.
Well, I thought you were gonna multiply. What was it? 5 by 16?
Oh,
5 6 by.
yeah, that's like $80 ish.
Dang. Yeah. So, anyways, pretty good here because we do make it here, and I think it's refined in Houston. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but cool. What else? Cost of living.
Groceries, honestly, not bad. I've been doing a lot more cooking at home since my girlfriend moved in, and thank God, because it's definitely helped the pocketbook. That's one of the things that you always see on national news is like how much the cost of living or the cost of groceries and stuff have gone up. But I will say we've been pretty well insulated on that front. Like, it's gone up, obviously, inflation, but it's not anything crazy. I can still go get like a pack of 5 or 6 chicken breasts for less than $10.
Okay. My wife does the grocery shopping, so I'm out of touch now.
Okay.
She complains about it a lot.
Well, I would normally not be doing the grocery shopping, but the girl loves company, so
Yep.
I'm there.
Okay. What other things do people want to know what they cost? School free, unless you go private or charter.
We'll touch on that a little bit.
Gas, yeah. Tolls. We have tolls here.
We have a lot of tolls. Texas is big, and we skipped over our transportation section, so we can jump right into that.
Yeah, let's dump on that.
Let's dump on that. Yes, let's jump on that. No, transportation is huge in Texas. Like I said, the drive times here are no joke. I think from one side of the metro, like if you went from the west side of 820 to the east side, like over by Lake Ray Hubbard, you're probably looking at about an hour and a half's drive to get from one side of the Metroplex to the other, depending on traffic. Actually, Dallas, it might be about an hour 45. So yeah, transportation's a really big thing. And when you got to drive 10 plus miles to get to work through city traffic, people have found a way to monetize it, which is both good and bad. There's toll roads, there's express lanes, all kinds of different options whenever you're trying to get to and fro. Some of them, costs, I think the Chisholm Trail Ranch usually costs about $3, $5.
We were rolling that one time, and it was like $20 for the toll lane.
Yes, if you go during
like,
peak
"There's
traffic,
no
they are
way."
going to gouge you.
Yeah.
But if you just want to avoid some lights, it's actually a pretty good option.
What a decision to make. When it's 20, you're like, I know if I don't take it, there goes the next 3 hours of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because you can actually live out in the country and be further away from people and get to each other faster than being in the city and being close to each other, just because of, everything from road systems and lights to general traffic.
And I will say, comparatively, Dallas traffic way worse than Fort Worth.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, if I got to drive through Dallas for more than an hour, I mean, I just want to knock you into last week looking both ways for Sunday.
Yeah, it's not great, and you're gonna want a good, reliable car, decent gas mileage. Anything else? Oh, highway speeds are really high around here. If you're not used to driving 70 or 80 miles an hour, it may shock you a little bit. Just stay right and be aware of your left and rights. Use your mirrors. You'll be okay.
Oh, yeah. People don't know how to drive here.
Yeah, because that speed limit may say 70, but they're doing 90.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if this is common in other places, but like, okay, first of all, if it rains and freezes overnight,
Oh my
just
God.
don't even go. Don't even.
Little backstory. This morning, it was 28 degrees. No ice on the road, just cold. Everyone still doesn't know how to drive. It's like any significant weather change, people lose their minds.
Yeah. Okay, so this is, I don't know where I learned this, but I'm pretty sure this is a thing. If not, I'm going to look real stupid. But like, when you go over a bridge after it's frozen, right? Like it snowed, it rained, whatever, it's freezing out. Why does everybody like they stomp their brakes? Like, I think that's the worst thing you can do. You go over a bridge, you don't touch anything. Just make sure you're straight all the way over,
Right.
Dude, all the time, people just like brake check. They're like, oh, bridge, oh. And they just freak out. I don't get it. Don't do that.
Yeah, no. Anyway, so suffice to say, driving 5 out of 10.
Getting heated
and depending on if you're in Houston, it might as well be a 1. Don't go there. Come here. But it's passable. I'm sure there's terrible drivers everywhere, and as you get closer to the city, you're just condensing the amount of bad drivers. So it's something you need to be aware of. The road systems here are they're kind of designed like a spoke, so you can get anywhere by going around the Loop 820, which is like a big highway that goes all the way around Fort Worth, or around, I think it's a 613 that goes around Dallas. 635.
Yeah.
And there's 2 of them. And then they've got roads coming into the center of town that you can kind of jut off in any direction. So it's pretty convenient, especially since most of the industry and stuff is in downtown.
Yeah. And if you're on one of those, it's not like if you miss your exit, you can just wait like an hour and a half and then you'll hit it again. So it's good. Yeah.
But it's not terrible. I will say the biggest downside is for most people coming in from places like New York, California, and a lot of the New England states. There's very little public transportation. We've got like a city bus system, and we have a train between like Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington. But you're not going to be able to go like to and from work in a lot of cases via the bus. You may get dropped off in downtown and then have to walk a bit if you're lucky. But there's not a very extensive public transportation system.
Yeah, so if you're somebody that like wants a walkable neighborhood, we have a video on this. There's very few in Dallas and Fort Worth, but it is possible to find here.
Yeah, and they're working on it too. A lot of the newer development seems to be going in that direction. So for like the people where that's something they're looking for, Linwood Park is a great place because it's right next to the business district. It's really cool.
That's in Fort Worth.
Yeah, they've kind of got like a little setup where it's a bunch of they've got townhomes and I think some single family homes around this little park area. It's right next to like Foch Street where all the the restaurants and activities are, right next to Montgomery Plaza, which is another really nice walkable area with a bunch of high-end condos. Dallas has
you're just a few blocks away from University Park.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. And Dallas has a ton of stuff next to their downtown that I'd call walkable outside of like the Bishop Arts area.
Uptown, Staten Island.
Staten Island, not Bishop Arts.
Bishop Arts isn't, you could live.
It's kind of walkable, but it's more historic. And then Flower Mound actually has a really nice one that they recently put in about 7 years ago called Lakeview. So it's shops on the bottom, and then condos on the 2nd through 5th floor. So you've got, all sorts of restaurants, activities, shops, and things on the bottom floor. And it's this big walkable street area. Reminds me almost like a movie set. They did it really nice.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, there's actually some options, believe it or not. You just got to look for them.
Yeah, I mean, even Southlake has a few options. I mean, we can go into the weeds on this, but once again, like, guys, just take a minute here to plug this, but go ahead and hit that QR code on the screen. If you want to go, it'll take you over to our website. You can set up a search if you want to. There'll be links there to chat with us. Like I said, about 15 minutes, we'll figure out, hey, here are the couple of places that we need to be looking to get you set up. And then also you can sign up for our newsletter where we'll have market updates and things like that. Because if you've looked at our market, like over the past, 2 years, it looks like Michael J. Fox trying to draw a straight line. Like, it's like, what is going on, right? So we try to decipher that in the newsletter and let you guys know the latest of what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we got next?
Next up is diversity. So a lot of people, this is important, when they send their kid to school, they want to have a lot of diverse folks that they interact with. What's your favorite race?
Usually a triathlon. I just like the actual diversity of the race itself. You got everything from, swimming, biking, and you get a foot race. So I think it's a good overall view of somebody's athleticism.
I really thought I was going to get you with that one. All right. But yeah, as far as diversity goes, there is a lot of different diversity throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But yeah, as far as it goes with like schools, we use niche.com for I think it's probably one of the better school rating systems out there. Mm-hmm. It's not perfect, but that is one of the scores on there. So we get a lot of our data from there. And on these videos that we put out each week, we try to hit on these big neighborhoods that people are moving to, just because, and usually they have good schools, right? That's a big driving factor for a lot of people moving here. So if you tune in, like I said, if you want to hit that subscribe button every week on Sunday at noon, we'll be putting out more videos. Do you have something to add to that?
No.
You had a funny look on your face.
Just, taking in all this diversity talk.
Yeah. We have to be really careful, right?
Yeah.
We can't steer people.
Yeah, so just a little background. We are real estate agents. Our governing body, TREC, has a lot of things when it comes to diversity talk, because it can be misconstrued in a lot of cases. So if you mess that up, or you say something untoward, or that could, hurt somebody's chances of getting a house based on one of the protected classes, they'll come out of nowhere and slap you silly billy. So we do have to be careful about some of the things we say, but we also want to be informative, because we know this is important to a lot of people.
Yeah. And so another thing that's really important to people is market growth. Which way is it going? Can they get in the path of it? Before we get there, let's talk about the fun stuff. Vacations. Ooh. What does that look like if you move here and you want to go on vacation?
Well, I mean, we actually have quite a few vacation destinations. I mean, heck, Joe Rogan even made it a permanent vacation destination. He moved to Austin, which,
shout out.
Yeah, nice to have big names like that coming this way.
Yeah, and then I had something to say and completely forgot it. So you keep going.
Yeah, Fredericksburg's also another really good spot. It's a lot more chill, wine country-esque. It's in the hill country of Texas, so a lot more elevation, really pretty. Still kind of got that desert-esque landscape. Obviously, there's places on the coast if you want to go visit Houston or Galveston, St. Padre Islands.
I got a fact that slaps that I want to hit you with.
Okay, what's up?
All right, so apparently this past year, more people visited the Fort Worth stockyards to hang out with all the cowboys than visited the Eiffel Tower in Paris.
That doesn't surprise me with the cost of staying a night over at the Drover Hotel, because it's like, several $100s a night now.
Yeah.
Like, it's a nice hotel. Don't get me wrong. It's not that nice.
Yeah, it can be a bit pricey. Yeah. But apart from that, like, if you want to do some travel, like what really butters my biscuit is traveling, especially outside the U.S. We have an international airport at the heart of Dallas-Fort Worth Airport.
Yeah, who would have guessed that name, right?
Airport, yeah. Which is great, because like you can fly like a direct flight to London or a lot of these other places. So that's another benefit, and I think that's why a lot of folks are moving here as well. It's just not for vacations, but for like the
connectivity is huge, because so if you've lived on the East Coast, you know that basically every flight goes through Atlanta. If you live on the West Coast, you know every flight goes through LAX. And if you live in basically anywhere in between, you know every connecting flight across the board goes through DFW, and is for good reason. It's like one of three of the third largest airport. Well, yeah, if you're going
like LaGuardia, is that
yeah,
like
so
a big international one.
If you're going across the pond, you're going through LaGuardia. So yeah, it's one of the three, I believe, biggest airports in America. It's got 7 terminals, and I think they're working on an 8th, the F terminal.
And we're pretty close to Mexico.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, there's a lot of that too.
A lot of people just like hop down there for a weekend. Like a lot of people have, they get roped in those timeshares, which is, dude,
What's the place right over the border here? It's not Cancun. It's
Cabo,
starts with
San
the J.
Lucas?
Starts with the J. I don't remember, but like this, we have a couple of really big vacation destinations just right across the border that people like to go visit. Just make sure your passport's up to date. You'll be okay.
Yeah, went to Cabo this one time, and I'd never played golf outside of the U.S., and so I was like, hey, I want to do it while I'm here. So there's the guy on the street at like in front of one of those little shops, like tourist shops. And he's like, what do you want? I was like, I want to go golfing. And I was like, but I don't want to do the timeshare presentation. I was like, I will pay more. I just want to go golfing. He's like, oh, I got you. It's like $100, and I get there, and they're like, okay, right this way for the presentation. I was like, oh. But it was like one of the coolest courses ever. It was in Cabo San Lucas. They had like an 8-acre lagoon. Half of the holes were like on the coast, like where you could see the ocean and whatnot. And every 3 holes, they had a snack shack where you could get drinks, beef jerky, like any kind of snack you wanted, margarita. It was amazing.
Man, yeah, that's pretty cool. Honestly,
so that's the one time I did the timeshare, and I wasn't.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, worth it.
I did it once in Vegas. I regretted every second of it. We got free hotels though. Nice. But actually, one of the vacation things that we see a lot of around here is like travel hunting. People who take vacations to go hunting, because a lot of people may not know this, but whenever you go hunting in a lot of other states, you do so on public land, and it's poorly taken care of. The facilities aren't great. You're just kind of fighting for spots with a bunch of other people. But in Texas, basically every piece of land is owned by somebody, and it's usually not the state. So if you go hunting here, it's like, oh, I got a buddy that has a lodge or a lease or a piece of land where we can just, do whatever. I mean, game wardens aside, but that's a really big aspect of not just vacationing, but also recreation here in Texas.
Yeah, hunting's very different.
It's mostly going to be things like whitetail, especially up in the Biloxi area where we are, but there's plenty of it.
All right, so at the time that we're recording this, it's early 2025, January, and people want to know where the market's going.
Well, it's still up in the air, man. If I had a crystal ball, I'd be answering everyone's questions.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but what we can tell you is where the growth is happening. So a lot of the big hotspots, I guess in general, north is where probably most of the growth is going. Like North Dallas, you got Frisco, McKinney, that are becoming almost new, like little downtown areas, or I would say Frisco, not McKinney so much.
Yeah, their own little hotspots.
Yeah. And so north of there's just been a ton of development around there. There's a ton of IT jobs coming in, or tech jobs, I should say. IT, same thing, right?
Yeah,
IT,
I mean, it's like squares and rectangles.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of that coming to that area. And so that area is going to be a little more pricey. Then north of Fort Worth, you have a ton of growth as well. We have the Alliance, it's a commercial airport, so you have a ton of warehouses and all that kind of stuff. So there's a ton of growth heading that way. And then just generally everywhere around DFW is expanding. Like it's expanding pretty quick.
Yeah, like it's really interesting because while a lot of the growth is going up north, a lot of the people who may not necessarily need to be following the wave are being really smart about it and kind of going the opposite direction. Because even though we got a ton of these really nice communities up north, we also have a bunch of what I call hidden gems down south, especially in the Mansfield area. If we detour a little bit and go like the Joshua area, which is most people when they see it on the map think middle of nowhere, but there's actually a lot of really good opportunities down there that are kind of growing at a slower pace, like Silo Mills, or over in Godley where you've got like Starlight Ranch. So if you just need something a little bit more chill, you can save a really pretty penny instead of, you know, trying to fight and clamor for the stuff up north.
And a lot of the places Jack just mentioned are like more rural. So that's something that a lot of people say. They come here and they're like, hey, we've been in the city and we don't want to be in the city. We'd like to be outside of the city, but fairly close to the city. You know what I'm saying? Like close enough, like if you really need something. And I would say probably like a lot of these places, you're 30 minutes from like a downtown area, and like worst case scenario within an hour. Yeah. So just to give everybody like an idea of drive times there.
But I mean, we have a good idea that like most of the stuff is moving up north, and eventually what I assume is going to happen is drive times to the industry and like the city center are going to get too great, where going further north just doesn't make a lot of sense for them. So if you're looking to like snag something in the south before it does actually start to blow up, you don't want to squat on the pot with that one, because, you know, nobody, like, really the drive time for most people is about 40 minutes before they really start considering somewhere else.
Yeah. And it's just going to be so much movement up there. Yeah, definitely don't squat on that pot. So I guess kind of wrap things up here. Number one, if this is kind of like the first video you're watching or you're early on, we have another video that talks about, like, we go into detail. We basically take a map tour, and we'll link that, we'll link the playlist. It's like 2 videos we go basically all around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, giving you an overview of what each area is like. And so that's probably the next best thing to do after this video, wouldn't you say? Or any other suggestions?
Well, I mean, like if you're trying to dig deeper into some of these neighborhoods that we mentioned or these areas, we've got pretty in-depth videos on all of them in playlists if you're looking at a more broad area. So you don't need like any one specific area just yet. You're still trying to figure out like, hey, maybe Dallas or maybe Fort Worth or maybe whatever. We got all that. We got you covered.
Cool. Anything else to add?
Well, that just fills my fruitcake.
All right. Well, there you have it. So as always, if you're looking to buy or sell, remember to keep calm. Call Tom.